And we're rolling. Good day to all of you. Welcome to the KBeatBot podcast. Clapping again by myself. Well, welcome to you. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your day just to have a wee listen to myself, have a wee rant, a wee discussion. Today's topic is going to be about the bar industry and some stories that I have for you, essentially, in my long run of working in the hospitality industry. If you are listening just now, just check out the description in YouTube. There is timestamps, so you can just click on a time of any stories that'll be there that you may want to be interested in listening to. So don't listen to this the whole way through. I don't want you to put through that suffering. Okay. But as we always do with the podcast, we start off by opening up a beer. This one was selected for me, and it's called a Coco Van Porter, so it's not even a pale ale. Thank you for getting that wrong. And it's from the Black Isle Brewery in Scotland, because we're racist when we do Scottish beers here. And it's suitable for vegans. And I'm not getting good vibes off the can already. It's saying, autumn is upon us. The days are drawing in. The night's getting longer and fires are lit as we hunker down for 4 months of soups and cocoa. Who's having 4 months of soups and cocoa? Soups, is that the plural for soup? I thought the plural for soup would be soup. Am I right? Let's check that 2 seconds. Well, let's open it. Oh. It's gonna be a porter, so it's gonna be a bit darker than it's gonna be like a Guinness. That's fine. I can't even remember how to pour Guinness, but I have worked in hospitality for a long time. So let's give that a try quickly. Ooh, it's like coffee. Interesting. Let's just Google first quickly what the plural for soup is, because I just want to know. If it's soups, I'll put my hand up. If it's soups, we've got problems. Plural soups. What the fuck? Well, that's ruined the day. Okay, plural is soups. Let's get into it. How are you doing, first of all? Are you doing okay? How are you feeling? It's been a bit shit this week with all the fucking rain. I've been on holiday. It was sunshine and lollipops for 6 weeks before my holiday. And then as soon as I was on holiday on Monday, it's pissing down the rain. We've got hailstones in the middle of May. I hope you're having a better week than I have. I've just been chilling out and doing nothing, essentially. I was meant to go down to London, but the trains are cancelled because they're finding cracks in the trains, which is good. You want a train to fall apart when you go on it. So I am stuck here. I thought I'd do a podcast to talk about some of the bartending stories. So some of you might be listening here, may have worked in hospitality. You may still work in hospitality. And I mean, there's a lot of things you can say about hospitality, and I don't want to go through absolutely fucking everything about hospitality today, because this will be the longest podcast in the world. It would take years to discuss it. But essentially, hospitality is when you're directly working in the bar or restaurant industry, which is what I've been doing over, as I said, the last 12 years, essentially. I only stopped working at a bar late last year when I was put off furlough from COVID. And for me, I really do actually enjoy the some parts of it. And which I mean is, I like a busy bar. So I like a Friday, Saturday night. That's where I really enjoy it. I can relax, get absolutely slapped in the bar, and I really do enjoy that aspect of the job. But with every job, there is going to be stories that come up of things that have happened. So what I'm going to do today, as I said, this is part 1. We'll release part 2. I don't know if that'll be the next one I do, but maybe in a few weeks' time, of bar stories that I've accumulated over the years, and to share with you today. Now, for me, this is going to start off really with my younger years in the bar industry, but I did put a poll out on Instagram of people to share some stories that they have as well, which I'll put on here as well, of them in hospitality as well. So some of these you might have heard of before if I've spoken to you, because they're quite funny. But some you might not have heard of. Hopefully it won't be too long. I hope. But let's just get into it, shall we? Okay. So I first started hospitality when I was 20 years old. Okay. I was in a university in Aberdeen. I was completely broke. I was currently working at a sports retailer called JGB Sports. You might have heard of it. They went broke, I think, in 2012. But I was working there. The pay was shit. I didn't like the work. I fucking hated it. So, my girlfriend at the time was like, well, why don't you look at working in hospitality, because you can make more money via tips. The hours would suit university better because you're working in the nighttime primarily. And it was a better kind of job for younger people to do, essentially. That's what she said to me. She was very practical. That's why I hated her. So I was young. I was a 20-year-old man, and I was a much different man than I was today. Okay, I was young. I had dreams. I had hopes and beliefs and drives. I believed I wanted to do good. I wanted to be the best that I could be. I wanted to make my family proud of me. So that's why I got a job at a strip club. First bar job was at a strip club. Well, that's not entirely true. So basically, I was invited for an interview for some application I put through at a bar, which was an over 25s nightclub. Now, this bar was part of an umbrella of different clubs and nightclubs in Aberdeen. And I got the job. I got the job straight away. They didn't care about my experience. I had no experience of bartending whatsoever. I was a quiet, shy young boy. And you'll see this throughout the first part of the story. Well, through the first part of my bartending career. I was very shy, very naive. I did the first night. I had no idea what was going on. I had one of the best interactions I had with a customer was, "Hello, can I have a Cointreau lemonade?" I had no fucking idea what Cointreau was. I was 20 years old. I never worked in a bar. I knew what vodka was. I knew what Coca-Cola was. That was about it. That was my whole horizon of drinks that I knew, and cider and Coronas. That's literally all. But this bar wasn't huge, so I was able to work it out. And the guy said Cointreau is that square bottle there. I was like, cool, gotcha. After my first day with this company, they paid your wages in cash. They paid you in cash, and you weren't taxed. So essentially, it was a bit shady, but I was happy with that. I was like, I need the extra £40 a week, so I was like, cool, I need to get it. But the way you got the payment was you had to go to the head office, which was in a strip club. It was called Private Eyes, which is just off Bridge Street. Now, the owner of this whole network of clubs was a guy called Tony. Now, he featured on a documentary series on Channel 4 a few years ago called Strippers, because he owns all the strip clubs in Aberdeen. Now, on that documentary series, he kind of was portrayed as kind of a very nice, lovable kind of guy. Far from the truth. This guy was a gangster. This guy always had two guys around him. He always wore pinstripe suits. He was a complete gangster. But I've never met him at this point. I literally just was told, collect your wages from Private Eyes, just tell him you work at this place, it's called Franklin's, and they'll get you to Tony. So on the Saturday, I went there. I was like, okay, I'm just coming for my wages. And there's two boys at the door, two big boys at the door. And they said, okay, he's in the office. Just go up, knock on the door, and he'll give you cash. I was like, sweet, cool. So I go up the door, knock on the door like this. And I hear, come in. And a lot of firsts happened to me when I walked into this room. I walked into this room, and I could hear some music playing in the corner. I don't know what kind of music it was, but it was really muffled, really shit music.
Yeah.
And I saw
Shit
behind this
music.
big desk was Tony, who I later would meet as Tony. He
Shit
was there
music.
with his shirt unbuttoned, wide open. And he was there
Shit
with who I
music.
would later be known as the general manager of the strip
Yeah.
club. His name was
Shit
Sandy.
music.
And he was there also
Yeah.
with his shirt unbuttoned.
Shit
And
music.
I saw on their
Yeah.
table,
Yeah.
I saw on the table,
Shit
lines of
music.
coke, all just lined up, and a
Shit
big ass
music.
fucking knife.
Shit
Now I was like, shit, what the fuck? But I was naive. So I just
Yeah.
walked in the office and I was
Yeah.
like, oh
Shit
shit.
music.
And around them was
This
3
music.
girls,
Shit.
completely topless,
Shit music.
just dancing and walking around, and they had loads of money on the table. Like, I'm
Shit
talking
music.
thousands of pounds on the table. It was just something that you see out of Scarface, and I was like, what the fuck is this? But I walked in and I was very scared. I was like,
Yeah.
hello,
Shit music.
hello, I work at Franklin's. I've just come to collect my wages. And the guy Tony, he was very nice to me. He was always very nice
Shit
to me, actually.
music.
But he looked at me. He was like, "You work at Franklin's?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, you're the new boy." I was like, "Yeah, that's me. That's me."
Yeah.
He goes, "Ah, right, okay. Did you work last night?" I was like, "Yeah, I worked last night." He goes, "How was it?" I was like, "Well, it's a bit quiet." He goes, "It's shit there, isn't it?" I was like,
Shit
"This was his club, so I'm not gonna critique him." I was like, "It was just quiet, you know."
Shit
There's a guy. He looks very powerful. He's got his shirt open.
Yeah.
He's got a knife on the table.
music.
I'm not gonna push him
This
back.
music.
Maybe now I think I could take
Shit
him out, but
music.
I'm a badass now.
Yeah.
But he said,
Shit
okay, that's fine.
music.
We'll get your wage. How much do I owe you? I was like, I think it's like 35 quid. He gave me 40. He goes, here's 220s. I was like, oh, thank you. I'll bring back the money. He goes, nah, don't worry about it. It's fine. I was like, cool. I was about to walk out the office. He says, what, are you working tonight? I was like, no, I only just got the one night. He was like, well, do you want to work
Shit
here?
music.
And I knew it was a strip club.
Shit music.
And my first answer was just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Shit
ooh.
music.
I'm sitting there in a room with 3 naked girls, a bunch of coke on the table, and a guy with a knife, and another boy who's completely coked out his mind. And I was like, right, okay, sure, why not? He goes, right, cool. You'll be here at 6 o'clock tonight. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Thank you very much, thank you. Kind of appreciating this opportunity of a lifetime. Now, at the time, for me, working in a strip club was very kind of like taboo. Not right now. I think I'm a lot more liberal now. I think everyone is a lot more liberal now. But I think back then, back in 2000, this was 2010, it would be. No, it was 2009. 2009. That's a different time. That's a different time, different people. That was 2 decades ago. So people were a little bit more stringent on strippers and strip clubs. So it was quite taboo. So I didn't want to go up to my girlfriend at the time and be like, "Oh, hey, I'm changing venue. I'm going to be working in a strip club," because I get absolutely slapped. My girlfriend was my rock at the time. She was keeping me up because I had no money. So I had to kind of hide the truth from her about going to the strip club, about working there. And that's a different story. That whole girlfriend thing was a different story. Anyway, working in the strip club in itself was actually all right. I actually did learn a few things. Like I learned about different gins, about different products, but I didn't learn a lot. I just learned how to kind of pour a drink, pour a pint, and that was it. So my expertise were to a very basic bar standard, very basic nightclub bar standard. But I could do the job all right. And working there was fine. I didn't have any problems working there at all. I got along with Tony and the GM very well. But then it came to a point where I worked there for about 6, 7 weeks, and they were like, "Well, we need to have a staff night out." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I was like the young boy who the girls all kind of they took the mick out of me because I was so young and naive. I was still kind of almost a virgin at this point. And they were like, "Oh, we should take Kelvyn out for a night out. Oh, it'd be great. Yeah, he can have the greatest time of his life." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I've seen all these girls naked, and don't worry, I've knocked a few out already for them. Don't worry about that." Okay, I'm joking. I'm sorry if you're disgusted right now, but they were like, "We need to have a night out." So we decided all to go out on a Monday night. and we all went to this Swedish bar in Aberdeen. It's just off Crown Street. And the night was pretty slow because it's a Monday night, but we go out and there's like 6 or 7 girls, and then there's a couple of security guys and one other bartender who was in his 30s. He was a bit weird. I didn't really associate with him much, but he was alright. I basically hung out with him because security guys were huge animals who were in their 40s, and they were just men, like just actual men who you just don't want to fuck with them because they'll kill you. But it was a slow night. It was a Monday night, and for me, again, I was being quite naive, and I was kind of sitting there, and it come to about 11:30, 12 o'clock. And for me, being the student that I was, the natural progression from a bar would be to go to a nightclub. So I was kind of sitting there going, "Oh, we're going to Liquid, are we going to Exodus, are we going to the Priory, are we going to Pearl Lounge, are we going to these kind of different nightclubs? That'd be great." But it came to about 11:45, and one of the girls was like, "Oh, we should have a house party. We should go all back to mine to have a house party." And I was sitting there, I was like, again, I'm naive, and I was kind of like up for anything. I was like, "Ah, house party sounds great. Let's go do it. Cool, cool, cool." So we all jump into taxis, but I had no idea where the fuck we're going. This girl could live anywhere, and which she did. She lived out in West Hill, which is about 5 miles out of Aberdeen city centre, so it's a bit of a drive. So I was getting a bit anxious about this because I was thinking at this point, like, I'm naive, I'm 20, I'm still, I've still only got the one bird that I've been with. But I'm thinking, well, I'm hanging out with these people, I'm being part of their culture. And these people were my friends. Like, some of the girls I was really friendly with, and the security guards were not. I wasn't friends with them, but they were familiar with me. I almost looked at them like my badass dads or uncles. So we arrive at this girl's place, and we walk in, and we're greeted from the front door to the living room, and the living room is just a couch, and there's lights, like the big film industry lights, and a big white wall. And again, I was so naive, and I was just like, "Oh, that's nice. You've got these cool lights here. What's going on there?" And she was like, "Oh, just doing my thing." I was like, "Oh, cool, cool." We all directed to the kitchen, and she gets out a bottle of vodka, and we start drinking the vodka. I was pretty pissed at this point. And then the girls all start going into the living room, so we follow suit. And a couple of them just start making out. I was like, "Oh, sweet, cool, girls making out." I was like, "Cool, bro, girls making out, dude. Cool, let's get some more booze." And then the girl who lives at the place, she was like, "We should all make a movie." Now, Kelvyn, it was really stupid and naive. From what I remember, I remember my answer being, "What kind of movie are we making?" Now, I think they took that as in, "Oh, I'm a horny bastard. Let's do some kind of role play." But I was actually thinking, "Oh, are we going to create like a wee, Martin Scorsese kind of idea thing here? Maybe I can be like Robert Downey Jr. and you can be Scarlett Johansson. We could recreate Avengers, even though that wasn't out then. But you understand the mindset. I was going through my head of like going, "Oh, well, maybe we can do something quite artistic here, something that could be kind of cool." But the girls were like, "No, let's make a movie. Yeah, yeah, get the cameras out." So the girls get their phones out and they start recording. And there's a camera in the corner, which one of the boys starts operating. I have no idea how he does that. And the girls just start getting naked. And then this is when the ball drops for me. Like, the big balls drop. This is when my balls, every single ball dropped at that one point. I was like, "Ah, this is what is going on. It's a porno. They want to make a porno." And I just see this mass of bodies just start fucking. Like, I mean fucking. And I turned to the guy who I said was the bartender. I turned to him, I said, I can't be here. I can't do this." He's like, "Nah, man, come on, you should get involved. Like, even if you don't get involved, just watch it, You can start jerking off." I was like, "Oh, fuck no, man. I'm cool. Like, I'm not, I'm not gay, bro." So I just walked out, and um, I basically I worked at the house, but I was in West Hill, so it was in the middle of fucking nowhere. But I was really lucky that a taxi just kind of came by. I don't know if it was the same taxi just waiting for us. I got in that and I went home, and I told my girlfriend when I came home. She was like, how's your night out?" And I was like, "Oh, it was really nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We talked about movies and stuff." So that was kind of the two main stories I could take away from the stripper clubs. kind of minor story as well would be kind of I worked during oil week, and you'd have men going in there, as you would imagine, but just like old 50, 60, 70-year-old men going in there during oil week, all wearing very expensive suits, and them expecting a lot more than just a stripper dance. Um, you've got guys literally with their cocks hanging out when they're getting dragged at the club. It's it was a bit of a fun fest. But the final kind of piece to that, as I said about Tony, is that Tony, the owner, he is a gangster, because this is a story with him involved. Is that I left the strip club not long after that porno story. I think maybe a couple of 3 weeks later. It wasn't because I was disgusted. It was just kind of like I got a job at TGI Fridays, which I'll go on to in a sec. So I left the job, and Tony was fine with it. He was great. He was like, "Yeah, fine, that's fine, no problem at all. You can go." I was like, "Cool, cool, cool." So after I left, about 2 weeks later, I heard on the grapevine, and this is again from that bartender I was telling you about that I went to the party with. He was saying that the general manager, who was in the original room with their shirt open, the coke addict, he stole £4,000 worth of cash and alcohol from the nightclub, and that Tony was looking for him. So this wasn't a okay, call the cops kind of scenario. This was kind of find the body scenario. I was like, okay, cool. And the bartender said, look, if you see him, just let me know, and I'll let Tony know. I was like, all right, okay. So I was already still within this web of people. And after that text message, I got a phone call 2 days later from the guy, Tony himself, and he said, "Hey, Kelvyn, it's Tony." I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Oh hi, how's it going?" And I thought he was going to ask me to come work again, and I was actually going to say, "Yeah, fine, no problem. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do another night." But he called me up. He says, "Have you seen Sandy?" I was like, "No, I've not seen Sandy. I've literally have not seen him since I've left. So no, I've not seen him." He goes, "Aye, okay. Well, if you do see him, can you let me know? Just give me a text, just if you see him or where you see him, and try and keep him with you if you're nearby." I was like, "Aye, okay, I'll do it. I'll do that. I'll give you a shout, Tony. No problem." He goes, "Aye, I knew I could rely on you. I knew I could rely on you." I was like, "Sound cool, cool, cool." And he hung up the phone. Thank God. Um, so that was my experience with him. But later on, the bartender that I said, he sent me an email that he sent round to all the other clubs about this guy, Sandy, saying that they should all go out and look for him, dead or alive. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, like, this is fucking serious. This is a guy who wants to kill this fucking motherfucker. I can understand you can be angry about your money being stolen and your stock as well, but fucking hell, he wants to kill the boy. So that was the end of that for my connections with the strippers. Then I did actually see that guy Sandy a few months later. Not he was alive, so we'll leave it at that. He was alive in Aberdeen City Centre, so he escaped with his life. I think so far he could be dead now. I mean, fuck it, who cares? Like, if you steal from a gangster, that's what you get. Um, but that was my first bar experience. Um, when I was at the strip club and with the place I was working at the time, this JGB Sports, I was kind of oh no, actually wait, we'll wait for the transition just yet. So I'm going to read out one of your stories. I'm going to read out. I put a poll out to say, let's talk about your stories. So let's read about one of your stories here. The first one we're going to do. These are going to be quite short because it was on Instagram. So, right, so the first one I'm going to read out is from Joseph Morland. He's been on the podcast before. So he says, and this basically encapsulates hospitality in its in its entirety, exactly, because there is problems in hospitality, huge, enormous problem. What the hell? Show me. 2 seconds. Sorry, it's letting me. Okay. So Joe said, I went to a mate's workplace and spewed all over the bathroom floor and then I watched him clean it up. That's really nice of you, Joe. That's really nice. And this kind of emphasizes the fact that the biggest problem in hospitality is people. People are the problem. Customers, colleagues, supervisors, managers, senior managers, owners, friends, family, they're all the problem within hospitality. They create all problems. Yes, you can have some external problems such as the roof falling out of the bar or a leak in a sink. Yes, these are all problems, but it takes an action of someone to fix them. And that responsibility needs to be worked on for the external problems. And sometimes people don't do that. But people are the problem. And Joe there, he's a good guy. I don't think he would purposely throw up on the floor and then make his mate clean it up in their workplace. But it shows you that alcohol does make people bigger cunts than they usually are. So Joe is not a cunt. But if he has a few beers, he's still a nice guy, but it might make him a little bit more relaxed to kind of be like, all right, you just clean up this sink. I don't know what the motives are there, but that kind of just shows that don't throw up on the floor and expect the bartender to clean it up. And some people expect that. Some people will expect that. In my experience, people throw up on the floor and they will look at you clean it up and they'll do the whole, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, let me help you. But they're in their nice dress, they're wearing heels, or they're in their best shirt, jeans and shoes. And they kind of look at you and go, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I would help you, but it's like, aye, sure. I'll just clean up the shit that you just took on the floor here. And so people are arseholes. And this kind of leads me on to my second trip into hospitality. So the strip club was an introduction to hospitality for me, and it's quite a unique introduction working at a strip club. Not a lot of people can talk about that. But I got my first kind of real bartending job at TGI Fridays. TGI Fridays, if you don't know, is a huge restaurant brand in everywhere around the world. You'll find it in America, United Kingdom. I think they've got branches in Japan, Australia. It's huge. It's universal. And they're revered for their bartending ability in regards to flair. They're one of the biggest bars to flair, so throw bottles around essentially. And their theories and basically theories and rules on bartending. So, for me, taking away from TGI Fridays, I think their drinks are shit. I think their drinks are really shit. But their practices of the bar and their rules and their theories are ones I would take on board in life in general, and also in bartending, and in keeping bartending as a good principle, because they give you a grounding to start from, essentially. I've got a lot of stories from TGI Fridays. I've selected a couple, which I'm not saying are the most extreme or the most interesting, but they're ones I just wanted to kind of talk about because they kind of fit into a narrative of hospitality just being an absolute nightmare sometimes in different ways. They both involve managers as well. So, as we discussed before, any bar you work in, anywhere you work at, essentially, you're going to have good managers, you're going to have bad managers, and if you're very unlucky, you could have a lot of bad managers. Everyone has a bad manager, everyone has a badly trained supervisor, and there's just people you're not going to get along with. There's people that don't know how to do their job. And the only reason why they got promoted is either they're friends with the other manager, or it's because of convenience. They're the only person left to get promoted. They lied on their CV. There's a lot of details which people don't look at with hospitality. It's very easy to get a job in a senior position, essentially. I say easy, but you can manipulate your way to the top quite easily, I think, snakily. One of the first experiences I had with bad management in TGI Fridays, which has been a lot of things, but one of the worst experiences I had was TGI Fridays, as I said, is a global brand. and it came up to, I don't know what the event was. I can't remember the exact event. I think it was either Independence Day or it was the anniversary of the New York TGI Fridays opening. I'm not too sure which one it was. I think it was either one of them. So it was some kind of anniversary, or Independence Day. I think it was the latter. And I was working the Friday morning. As I said, I was at university, but I was able to do a Friday morning because I think I was off that day or whatever. So I was doing a Friday morning. I was by myself in the bar. Usually Friday mornings, you're just doing a lot of prep for the night time, so it's going to get busy. But during the day, it's going to be quite quiet. Out of nowhere, I see my manager come out with a huge board, like the boards you see outside cafes and restaurants, which have like advertisements about there. Now, the TGI Fridays I worked at was in a shopping centre. It was in the Union Square shopping centre. It still is there. And they had a board on it that said, all cocktails, £2.99. And I just see her walking out with this at 11:30 in the morning to the outside square. And she puts it straight in the square. Boom. And she comes back. Now, this manager and I, we did not get along because, to tell you the truth, she had no fucking idea what she was doing. That's literally it. She just had no idea what was going on. She could barely even spell her own name, and her name was Liz. That's it. And I saw her come back, and I was like, "What's that?" And she went, "Oh, all cocktails today are going to be £2.99 from 12 o'clock." I was like, "Shouldn't you've told me about this? Like, I'm going to get absolutely slapped." And she was like, "Well, it shouldn't be that busy. Like, we're in a shopping center. No one's going to be drinking during the day." And literally, this is where you put your hand to your face and go, "Fucking idiot! £2.99 for any cocktail." A lot of problems with this. Number one, we're in Aberdeen. At this time, a lot of people had a lot of money. They're in a shopping center. You go shopping on a Friday, you're going to get people coming in for cocktails for £2.99. Number one, your audience is right there. Do not misrepresent your audience. If there's alcohol for cheap, they're going to fucking drink it. Number two, every single cocktail was £2.99. This means anything. TGI Fridays has a book that is over 300 cocktails long, which they've developed since like the 1970s. Every cocktail from the 1970s is in that book. So anyone that was in TGI Fridays in the 1970s could come up to that bar and say, "Hey, can I have a Haymarket? Can I have a peach cobbler? Can I have anything?" And you sit there and you go, "Right, okay, cool. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, no problem." And you have to make that. You have to make it because it's part of the cocktail menu. They only show a few on the actual menus they put on the tables, but anyone can come in and just order a classic cocktail from TGI Fridays. Good for knowledge, not so good for service. And also, lastly, I was the only bartender on. And this manager, she was a complete idiot. She didn't even know where the bar was. She couldn't even spell bar. So she wasn't going to help me in any way at all. So, as I said, it started from 12. I think I finished till 8, the promotion. And I finished at 5. So I was like, oh, fuck me in the beard. By 12:15, I had a full bar. Full front bar. And I had 20 checks on the dispense. So dispense is where you get the checks out from the tables and you make the drinks. I had a full bar, and it was like that scene from, if I don't know if you've seen the film Cocktail, when Tom Cruise is sitting there for the first night on this Manhattan bar, and people going up to him saying, "Can I have a Cuba Libre? Can I have a dirty martini? Can I have this? Can I have this?" And he's going, "Quiet! What is that?" That is exactly my experience there. I had about 25, 30 people all on the front line of the bar, and then behind them another 25 people, all asking me, "Hey, can I have this? Can I have a Singapore Sling? Can I have a Long Island iced tea? Can I have boom, 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 boom?" And they would order 10 cocktails each. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God. And it's the first time I've ever been absolutely hounded on a bar. Now, as I said before, this manager was a complete idiot. She comes onto the bar, and she sees that I've got essentially hundreds of people looking at me, waiting for drinks, getting angry because they're waiting. And she comes to the bar and she says, "Kelvyn, can I speak to you for a second?" I was like, "Not right now, no." So she came up to me and she said, "Are you okay? Do you need anything at all?" I was like, "Yes, I need someone to help me. Can you get someone to do the checks? Can you get me some ice? Can you get me some glasses?" And she's looking at me and she's going, "Well, we don't have any bartenders." I was like, "Can you do it? Because the manager is meant to be able to do the drinks." She goes, "Well, I don't really do that." I was like, "Well, can you just pour the beers? Can you do anything?" And she goes, "I'll see if I can find someone to help you." So this idiot manager, she goes into the back. She looks around. I think the most appropriate person to get in this situation would be a server, so someone who works on the floor that actually knows what the drinks look like, and I can just shout at them instructions and say, "Hey, make it like this. Just have a go. Open a beer, make a vodka mixer. We can deal with the cocktails. I'll do the cocktails." And I don't have time to speak to anyone. I'm just speaking to everyone and crying at the same time. And she comes back, and she comes back with the kitchen porter, who, respect to him, his English isn't the best of languages, should we say. And she goes, "Right, he's going to help you." I was like, okay. I assumed that too well for her that he might have experience on the bar. So I said to him, "As like, do you know how to make a beer?" He went, "Yes." I was like, "Do you know how to make a vodka mixer?" He was like, "Yes." "Do you know how to get me ice?" He went, "Yes." I was like, I was like, "Do you know where you are?" He was like, "Yes." I was like, "Okay, just go for it." And I said to him, like, pour me 2 Budweisers and make me a vodka mixer." Fair play to him, he did it. He fucking did it. But the manager comes back on, she goes, "What are you doing? He shouldn't be making drinks." I was like, "Well, that's what I need right now." He goes, "No, he collects the glasses." I was like, "Oh, right, so how are the drinks gonna be made here?" She went, "Well, he can't do them, he's not trained." I was like, "No one is trained here. What is the matter with you? Get me someone to help, either you or someone else to help." Now, for me, I shouldn't be saying this to a manager. I shouldn't be stating the obvious to the manager. But she then walks away, and then out of nowhere, about 5, 10 minutes later, there's a guy who works in TGI Fridays at the beach. So he works for the brand, and he walks by the bar and he sees us getting absolutely slapped. And he comes up to me and says, "Are you all right? Do you need help?" I was like, "Please, please, please, please." He goes, "That's cool. I've got my uniform on. I can jump on." I was like, "Oh, thank fuck. Thank fuck for that." So he finally gets on, and we finally kind of create some neutrality where I'm able to do front bar, he does dispense, and he helps the front bar all the way up until 5 o'clock. This guy's going to start shifting on the beach at 5 o'clock, but he's helping us out. And at 5 o'clock, I finish my shift, and the manager pulls me up and she says, "What happened there?" I was like, "What do you mean, what happened there? I've literally been serving drinks for 5 hours straight for 2.99 cocktails." She was like, "Yeah, but you should have done better. You should have managed it better." And I was like, "Listen to the verbs you're using, okay? I should have managed it better. You should have managed it better." And as I said before, this was like one of the worst, well, one of the first times that I've got absolutely slapped and hounded by myself. So I was not like in the best moods to have a discussion about what my performance was like. And she was like going, "I expect better from you." And at this point, I was a different boy. I was hurt. I was a wounded lion. So I said to her, I said, "You should do better. Always do better." And I made a complaint about her to the general manager. But the good thing about hospitality is, you might be wondering, "Kelvin, what happened with that manager?" Is that she got promoted to general manager 6 months later. Luckily, I wasn't there anymore. I left to go to Edinburgh, but she got promoted. Even though she is, I think she still even works there. She is a terrible manager. She is shockingly bad. But we can all say the same about every manager we've worked with. So floating on with TGI Fridays, I mean, I've had quite an extensive career with TGI Fridays. I've actually, I would say it's been the best bar job that I've ever had. And there's a lot of stories I can take away from it. I've competed in different competitions with them. They've given me trips to Amsterdam, to Greece, to London, all paid for. The company is actually really good to work for. The tips are really good. So I would recommend working there, because also it's quite an early finish. You finish at 11 o'clock at night on a weekdays. I think on the same the weekend. So as long as you close it by 12, you can go out and have a few beers, which is cool. That's awesome. So if if you're interested, it is hard graft. You have to learn a lot, but get involved. I did get fired from TGI Fridays, but that's a different story. I will talk about that at part 2. Um, but for this kind of second part about my TGI journey, is I don't think a lot of people have heard this story before. I worked in the Edinburgh branch, and I, you work with different people, of course, and as we say, managers are always going to be irrational because they're people as well, and sometimes they get promotions because they're the most convenient there. And I worked with a manager, who basically was she was the general manager of the TGI Fridays in Edinburgh. So TGI Fridays has a bar competition where basically you compete against everyone else in the United Kingdom and then Europe and then the world. And you compete in aspects such as knowledge, speed, and flair. And there's different categories, so you can do a flair performance and you can compete in that, or you can do the general bartending competition where you compete in all 3 categories. And I was put forward to do all 3 categories. And the competition was being held in Leeds for the finals to be held in Wembley Arena. And I did pretty well. So I think I got top in Scotland. So I was number 1 in Scotland, and I got invited to the finals. I did very well at this competition in Leeds. But so it was a couple of us went down. It was me and this general manager. Let's call them. I'm not going to give them their real name because I think people might listen to this might know who they are. But they have the same first 3 letters as my name. So let's call them Beat. Let's call him Kel. So Kel, myself, and another 2 bartenders went down to Leeds. TGI Fridays pays for everything, so they pay for your travel, they pay for your hotel, and they pay for your night out essentially. So they give you like quite a lot of spending money to do what the fuck you want. And I finished my competition in the Leeds branch, and I knew that I qualified. Really big result for me. I was like, decent, cool. I get to go to Wembley. And we're enjoying the flair show, which is one of the boys we were with, Robbie. He was competing, and he's really good at flair. Like, he's from the Philippines. He's a professional. He knows how to flair. I think he would be classed back in those days, maybe one of the top 15, top 20 flair bartenders in the United Kingdom. So he was really good, and he won the final as well. But whilst he was performing, the GM Kel, we heard like a scuffle behind me, and I was pretty drunk at this time because it was like late at night. It was like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I look around, and she's currently got one of the top managers, TGI Fridays, is like a big boy. His name was Trevor Peach. We call him T-Rex Trev because his hand was kind of crooked, so it was kind of like a T-Rex. Didn't say it to his face, obviously, because you wanted to keep your job. But like T-Rex Trev was being hounded on by Kel. She was punching his face in whilst he was on the ground, like actually ravaging him. And he was fighting back. Like, he was not punching, but he was like pushing her face off. And they were both scrapping on the floor. She was screaming, and she was absolutely nailing him in the head. And your first reaction to that is like, well, she's fired. Like, that's the end of that then. But obviously, this is our general manager. We need to take some responsibility for her. So myself and the girl I was with, the other bartender, we kind of tried to pull her off as everyone else is, and we push her off, and then she just runs out the door and runs away. And we're sitting there and we're going, oh fuck, like, she's got our train tickets. She's got the card. She's got the business card to get us back up to Edinburgh. Because we just bought the tickets as we go. Because if money's not expense, you just do that, apparently. And we're like, oh fuck, is she going to come back to the hotel? I hope she fucking does. So we tried to contact her, but she doesn't answer her phone or anything. And we're like, okay, well, we'll figure out in the morning. We'll get our own train tickets and claim it back. And we have a good night. We go out in Leeds. We have a good night. We come back home. We come back to the hotel. Still not a peep out of Kelly. Nothing out of her. We all say we'll meet at 9 o'clock for breakfast, and then we'll make our way up by train by 12 o'clock. So we'll take the 12 o'clock train back up to Edinburgh. I think. I mean, I could be saying 12. It could be any other time, but I'm making the story a little bit more linear. So we wake up in the morning, come down for breakfast, and she's down there eating breakfast with a black eye, acting like nothing happened. So we all go down together, and she's like, "Oh, hello everyone. Oh, come down. Oh, come down. Yeah, sit down." And we're going, "Oh, hey, how's it going? All right. Yeah, good. Fantastic. Yeah." And obviously there's a big elephant in the room. And she's a big girl, so she's the elephant. But no, there's a big elephant in the room that what happened last night. But she just did not acknowledge it at all. She was just like, "All right, okay, the breakfast is really good. Yeah, get yourself some sausages." I'm like, "Okay, I'll get myself a sausage. Don't you worry about it." Yeah. And then she starts planning. She goes, "Right, okay. So when are we getting the train?" And we already decided we're getting the 12 o'clock train. So we're like, "Oh, we should go up at 12." It was like, "Oh, okay, 12 o'clock. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Yeah. I need to get a few things in town first, though." And we're like, "Okay, fair enough. Like, she wants probably lunch for the train or something, whatever." So she goes, "All right. So what we'll do? We'll get a taxi, have your breakfast, get a taxi, and then we'll go into town, get the train." And I was like, "Okay, sound makes a plan." It's kind of weird. It's a weird breakfast. We have like this kind of weird conversation where we're talking about the night and not really about the event itself, but like how we went to this nightclub, and there was like a cool garden and stuff. Just general chit chat. 'Cause it's like fucking awkward. So we get our stuff and then we get into this taxi, which side note crashed the car. We were in a taxi, we're driving down a motorway, and the taxi driver, I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but there was a red light. He obviously didn't see it, and there was a car pulling out to turn left in our lane, and he just crashed the front end into it. And the car drove off, so then he chased the car down to a car park and then started shouting at it. And at this point, it was like, this is the weirdest 24 hours ever. But the guy finally got us to Leeds, and he said, he goes, "Don't worry about it." But Kelly, or Kel, sorry, or Kelly, okay, her name's Kelly. But Kelly was like, "No, no, he was like, "Oh, don't worry about the charge for the crash. I hope you're okay." And she was like, "No, no, what, how much do we owe you?" He goes, "Well, I don't know, it'd be about £10. He goes, "Right, okay, well, make it 50." And she gets out the TGI card. I'm sitting there going, "Oh, okay, I kind of see what she's doing here. Okay, I would say that's forgivable. Like, okay, gave your taxi driver 20 quid or 40 quid. He's been in a crash. Okay, maybe she felt bad for him." So we go into town and we see a Tesco's, and myself and the bartenders go, "Okay, let's go in there, get some food and a drink, and we can go head on to the train." She goes, "Aye, you guys go in there. I'm just going to go into the shops." I was like, "Okay, fine." She said, "We'll meet you here in 15 minutes." So anyway, we're waiting for her outside. It's like this central part of Leeds, and literally we're waiting for like half an hour. And she comes back with 4 bags from Dorothy Perkins and another bag from PC World. And I'm sitting there going, "Now, did she win the fucking lottery last night, or what the fuck going on?" Um, and she comes back with all this shit, and we're like, "Okay, the train's in 25 minutes. Should we go there?" She goes, "Yeah, yeah. Yeah, let's just take the train, take the train." So we go to the train, obviously, and I'm sitting there going, "Right, okay, cool. This nightmare should hopefully be over when we get on the train. All we have to do, I'll sit in a seat, put my headphones on, listen to some music, get to Edinburgh. As soon as we get to Edinburgh, you can go home, tell a story to all the kids. That's it." But the train from Leeds to Edinburgh was completely packed. It was just full of people. I was like, "Oh, fuck me." And she said, "Oh, that's all right. I've got reservation tickets here." And she literally looked at me and she went, "Kelvyn, you're sitting next to me." I was like, "Oh, fucking Santa Maria." And she had these big bags with her. So she says, "Well, I'll sit in the window." I was like, "Yeah, I'm glad you're still telling me what to do, but okay." And she goes, "Right, I'll sit in the window and you sit on the outside because you've got longer legs." I was like, "Cool." But she sat at the window and she gave me these 2 Dorothy Perkin bags, which I'm just holding on my knees, which were heavy. Like, I don't think this was just jackets in there. I think there was like gold bullion in there. And the train journey up was so silent. It was so awkward. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with silence. I could be silent from Aberdeen to Johannesburg. I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. But I know it's awkward for other people. and it was clearly awkward for her. And she only said one thing through the whole journey. Literally, we're about half an hour away from Edinburgh, and she just turns to me, and she like points out at the sea or something. She goes, "Hey, look at that out at the sea." She goes, "They'll never get me." I was like, "What? They'll never get her? What the fuck?" So she pointed to the sea and said, "They'll never get me," like some kind of pirates. At this point, I'm thinking she's definitely taken something, or she's still drunk or something. I don't know what the fuck's going on. We get to Edinburgh. I kind of give her the bags to say, "See you later. Get yourself a taxi. Bye bye. Bye bye." And I'm kind of looking at the bartenders like going, "What the fuck happened there? I don't know." And she says when she's leaving the taxi as well, she goes, "Oh, I'll see you all Monday." It's like, no, you won't. You will not see us on Monday at all. You're not going to see anyone on Monday. So when I go back into work, I was part time, so I went into work on the Friday, and I spoke to the manager, and the manager's like, "Yeah, no, she got fired." I was like, "Well, understandable. She beat up the fucking area manager of the north of Scotland." She went, "Yeah." She also spent 7.5 grand on the TGI ticket, so she spent all that money on clothes and a computer, a laptop, but she also went out to a bar in Leeds and basically got ourselves all these bottles of vodka in a nightclub and just had an absolute rash night out on TGI Friday's expense. And to be fair to her, I respect that. I do respect that. But it's it's interesting. So that's the story with her there, and that was general manager. So it kind of shows you that anyone can be Raj. Doesn't matter if you're general manager or any manager, supervisor, owners. They can all be Raj, and you should never trust them. I'm joking. You do get good managers, of course. I've been a manager myself. I'm not insinuating that I was a good manager. I think they're just people as well. So everyone has their downfalls. Everyone has their ups as well. But those were just a couple of stories in regards to um, managers with TGI Fridays. As I said, there's many stories I could divulge about TGIs, but those were two that I wanted to kind of look into. I'm going to read another story here. Okay, so this one's from Jamie Kane. Okay, this is from the Instagram page from Jamie Kane. He says he was on the bar. He said, "Get your tits out for a free shot to a fat bird," as you do. And the manager came on the bar just when she done it. Like he came or he arrived on the bar. We don't know. Well, we'll say that he arrived on the bar. He might have came. Had no choice but to fulfill the promise as she looked mental. Would do again. Pretty sure her boyfriend was picking her up too. Proper hood rat. So that was the story from Jamie Kane. Thank you so much, Jamie. Go check him out at Boom Barbers if he's still doing that. I don't know. Get yourself a wee trim. I worked with Jamie. He's a top lad. And that kind of emphasizes another like few stories of how much girls get free drinks. What the fuck? So I poured my beer in. Oh no, it's gone everywhere. Ugh. Yeah, so that kind of brings up so many stories of how people use sexuality to get free drinks. I'm sure anyone who's worked in a bar anywhere, whether you're a server or a bartender, front of staff, even with colleagues as well, they'll do the same. I'm probably prime suspect to all of that. Although I never really meant it, it was just a joke. I would never do anything like that, but I would say things which were just really out there to just kind of displace someone. But you will get complete creeps, such as mostly men and women. I once had a girl come up to me in a bar. I've never seen this girl before. I went up to her. I said, "Hey, how's it going? What would you like to drink?" And she went, "I'd like to drink the bartender's cum off your dick." And for me, I was like, "What?" And she was like, "I'd like to sleep with you." And for me, I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" Like I was like, "What the fuck?" And she was an attractive girl, and she just looked at me like, "This is real." How do you react in that scenario? Like what? What? She didn't say anything else. She just said that. I was just kind of like, "Oh, well, we don't provide that service here." I was just trying to play it cool. And then our friends came in, and then it was kind of very awkward for her to stay there the whole night just looking at me. You know, those things happen. But for Jamie there, I mean, girls will come up to you and say, "Look, I'll flash you my tits if I get a free shot or a free bottle of wine," and people will do it. There's a bar, Garibaldi's. Many of you may know it. Is a Mexican bar, and they have a sign that says "No shirt, no charge." It obviously only applies to women, because if it was no shirt, no charge, it would be topless men in that bar all night, all long. um, you can use your titties, use your fat titties to get some shots. So, girls, I do implore you, if you've got some titties, skinny, fat, big, loose, drooping, fake titties, just do it. Because, as Jamie signified there, men will lose their jobs to see some titties. Like, most places don't give away free drinks, but if a girl comes in and says, "I'll show you titties," and a man is there, he'll give you a shot for some free titties. Anyway, we're diverting from the narrative here, so I'm going to try and finish this up on my adventures in London. As I said, there's so many stories I could tell, but I like to just tell a couple of stories about London, and it's really just about one narrative in London. So I worked in London. London is a complete different landscape of bartending than in Scotland. I've worked in Aberdeen, Edinburgh, London. I did a stint in Vegas, and Miami. So I've worked in a few places, and they all have their different vibes, different drinks, different people. But London was a different vibe, a different place to work. But I'm not going to talk about the actual work itself. I'm going to talk about the process of actually trying to get a job. I don't know if I've probably told a few people this, but for me, when I moved down to London, I was going down there for an internship. I wasn't getting a lot of money, so I needed to kind of get a bar job to improve my wages so I could actually live there. Because living in London, I don't know if you heard this, is fucking expensive, okay? So for me to actually have a life and to be able to eat and breathe, I needed to get a bar job to supplement my income. So for me, I thought when I moved down to London in 2014, I think it was 2014, I had some years of experience behind me. I worked at TGI Fridays, which, as we said, is quite notorious for having a good set of principles of bartending. I worked at the strip club, and I'd done some events as well in between that. Wait, oh, no, so I worked at Amicus Apple as well. Oh, so I worked at three bars. So I worked at three bars. Amicus Apple was in between. I've got stories from there, but that'll be part two. Stay tuned for part two. So moving down to London, I need to find a bar job. Now, with most jobs, when you apply for bar jobs, essentially, the bar will say, "Hey, can you come in for a trial?" And the trial will legally has to last 4 hours, as in up to 4 hours. So it can last 20 minutes, how shit you are, or it can last a couple of hours, usually a couple of hours, but maximum time scale is 4 hours. In London, though, they've kind of created a micro economy of that trials are free labor. Because it is essentially, you're saying, "Can you come in, make us some drinks, show us that you can perform, and then if we like how you are and how you perform, we'll hire you as a job." And they don't have to pay you for that 4 hours. Now, when I was in London, I was trying to get a bar job for 4 weeks. It was 4 weeks, and I went to, I would say, 20, 25 trials. As I said, I've got experience, so I'm going to put my conspiracy hat here and say I got fucked over a couple of times. When I say a couple of times, a few times. First time I got fucked over. I don't even know if it's the first time, but this is like some of the major times I got fucked over. I went down to a bar, I think it was called Toy Bar, something around toys, in Greenwich. Really cool bar. It was really nice. I actually really liked it. It was kind of a cool setting. And it was kind of unique, and it was busy, but it wasn't like absolutely packed. It wasn't a nightclub. It was a cool kind of cocktail bar. I went in. I did the trial. Trial lasted 4 hours. and the GM was really nice to me at that time. I think her name was Sophie. I can't remember her name, but her name was Sophie. And I do my shift. She says if I could flare, I show her some flair. I give her the whole shebang. I'm trying to impress her because it's a trial. I need a job. At the end of the trial, which lasted 4 hours, and it was quite busy at this time, so I made quite a lot of drinks. She came upstairs. I went upstairs with her, and she was like, "Aye, okay, so oh, let me emphasize as well. This was a Saturday night, so I worked from 6 till 10. So this is like the key period for this bar. And as I said, it was busy at this time. So I go upstairs to her and she says, "Yeah, that was great. I really like your style. I really like you. How about you come in on Monday and we can sign this contract?" I was like, "Fan-fucking-tastic. Cool. Massive relief in my head because I've been looking for jobs for a while. Finally, I've got one. Cool." I said, "No problem at all." Shook her hand. And then I went away. As I said, I was working during the day on the weekdays. So I came in on Monday night and she was at the bar and she saw me come in and her eyes just dropped, like in not fear, but like regret. And I kind of looked at her, I was like, "Oh, hi, Sophie. How's it going?" And she was like, "Oh, hi, hi, Kelvyn, how you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, hey, hi. Yeah, I've just come here to sign the contract." And she said something quite peculiar. She went, "Oh, did you miss my phone call?" Now, how can you say something like that? How can you say, "Did you miss my phone call?" That for me just sounds a bit stupid because I didn't get any, number one, missed calls. There was nothing on my phone from her, I believe. There was no voicemails from her, 100%. And I definitely did not recall a conversation with her on the phone. So that sentence doesn't make sense to me. So I'm looking at her, I'm going, "Did I miss our phone call? What do you mean by that?" And she went, well, I can't. Basically, we've looked it over and we can't hire you at the moment. We haven't got the budget for it. I was like, oh, of course, of course, of course. And in my mind, I was kind of going, shit, this is a nice bar. I kind of liked it here, but okay. So I kind of was like, okay, right, well, you could have told me that, but I couldn't say much. It was like, okay, you could have told me that, but fair enough. Like, okay, I'll go back on the tube for another half hour to go home. So I went back on the tube and I went home and I was like really pissed off. And I was like, "Oh, okay, great, cool. And I've got to keep looking," because I essentially thought I had a job secure. Um, and then it, a couple of days later on Wednesday, I get a phone call from the other manager of that bar. And she calls me up. She goes, "Hi, is that Kelvyn?" I was like, "Hi, yeah, hi, it's Kelvyn." She goes, "Hi, it's such and such from Toy Bar." I was like, "Oh, hi. I thought, have I left something? What is it?" And she goes, "Hi, we were wondering if you could come in for a trial on Saturday night." I was like, "Is it between 6 and 10?" She went, "How do you know?" I was like, "I think I figured it out." I was like, "Well, Sophie's already told me that you don't need staff, so um, why am I getting this phone call?" And she was like, "Oh, all right, okay." And she literally ignored me. She went, "Oh, okay. What, you think you've got something else? Okay, right. Bye bye then." I was like, "Bye." First light bulb clicks on. I was like, "Ooh, people using me for staff." So essentially, my first conclusion there was like, these people are putting trials out so they can cover them on Saturdays because they might be a bit short staffed for the next couple of weeks. Bars know this. Bars know, well, everywhere knows it. They know that if it comes up to a certain time period, people will be on holiday. They could be sick. They could have events. They could be short staffed. They could have a big party on. So they can very much calculate when they need new staff, essentially, to put this through. During this time, I decided to do another 2 trials at 2 different bars. So I went to another bar in Soho, and it's called a jazz bar. I can't remember the name of the fucking bar. It was a jazz bar. I just saw it on Gumtree, and I looked at the job. I thought, fuck it, I'll do it. So I went to the job, and as soon as I walked in the bar, I was like, I don't want to work here. It looks shit. It was literally like a dungeon, really dark, really like a lot of mahogany. Like if you've got mahogany in your house, you've obviously aged 85 years. Keep the mahogany away from me, please. I came in and it was like an old woman. She definitely suited the mahogany. I think she was made of mahogany actually. Um, and I came in and she was like, "Hi, are you the trial?" I was like, "My name is Kelvyn. Don't call me trial." And she was like, "Okay, cool. Do you want to just put your stuff in the staff room?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, let's go for it." So she got her keys out, and she took me to the staff room, opened up the locked door, put my stuff in. Great, cool, everything's safe. And she goes, "Okay, cool. This is the bar, and you're going to work that." I was like, "Sound cool, no bar." And I knew straight away when I walked to the bar, I didn't want to do this. It was a dispense bar. I prefer front bar. It was mostly basic drinks such as vodka, coke, gin and tonic, a couple of beers, which I don't mind, but it was very dispense focused. It wasn't front bar because the place was a shithole. And whilst I'm working there, I kind of look around and notice that there's not a lot of people working here. It's literally her and an old guy who I suspect they were husband and wife. I'm just not enjoying this, and I think I started like 5 o'clock on the trial. Again, it was a Saturday night, and it gets to about 6:30. I'm just not enjoying it, so I'm thinking, right, I'm just going to go because I just don't want to do this. And I said, "How long is this trial going to last for?" When I see her, she goes, "Well, you do the whole night." I was like, "No, the trial is only 4 hours, so I started at 6. So you'd expect to finish at 10?" And she went, "Oh well, if you do the close, then we could talk about hiring you afterwards." And again, it was just that kind of wording that she said, "talk about." I was like, "Oh, okay, so we can talk about it." She went, "Yeah." I was like, "Right, okay, cool." I was like, I don't want to do this." And she went, "Oh, no, but you need to help us out." I was like, "I need to help you out with what? Do free labor?" And she went, "Yes." I was like, "Nah, nah, 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 I want to leave. I want to leave." And I was in a bit of a bad mood anyway, but I just went up to her and went, "Fuck you." And then I went to the cupboard. The problem with that was that I went to the cupboard to get my stuff, is that she had the keys. So as soon as I said "fuck you," I walked round to the cupboard. I had to kind of trot back with my head down and it's like, "Can I please have the keys to the cupboard?" And she was going, "Oh well, let me see." I was like, "No, please, just give me the fucking keys. Like, come on." And she did give me the keys, and I got my stuff and walked out. But again, another light bulb, big red flag is like, fuck, people are using you to work in the bars for free for trials. And then the last trial that I had, the last terrible trial I had, again, this happened many times, so these are just like kind of main stories about it, is I went to this bar for a trial. It was a huge bar. It was really cool as well. I really like this place. And it's called Pong. It's like a huge table tennis bar place. And I went in. The bar was really cool. They had several bars. They put me on the main bar, and they were like, "You can do dispense." I was like, "Cool, I'll do dispense." Like new bar. I love. I do like dispense. Like I like getting slapped. Um, but I prefer front bar. But I can. I'm easy on either. And the manager at the time was like, "You go on dispense." Again, it was a Saturday night, conveniently. Oh no, it's a Friday night. So it was a Friday night, and I started at 6, finished at 10. I was happy with that. He said, "You'll finish at 10, and then we can have a conversation." I was like, "Cool. That sounds like more of a professional setting. Let's do that." So it comes up to like 9:30, and I've completely smashed it. It was a really busy night. I've completely smashed it. I've made every single drink. I was literally on dispense by myself. It's a new bar. I've literally learned all their cocktails. I've got it to a T, and I'm like the best bartender there already. Again, I'm blowing up my own ego, but I did really well, what I think, for doing the job. Comes up to like 9:30, and the guy's like, "Oh man, you did really well." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, thank you, thank you so much, thank you." I don't like to take compliments, but I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And he goes, "Oh yeah, really good, yeah, really good. Ah, yeah, we definitely get you hired." She's telling me that I'm getting hired, so he's kind of enforcing that. Okay, I might have the job here. He goes, "Yeah, definitely get you hired. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it." Um, he goes, "Do you fancy doing the close with the guys? Because I mean, end of the day, like if we give you a job, you may as well do the close." I was like, I was like, "Ooh," and again, the red flag kind of came up from Toy Bar. I was like, going, "Oh, the close." She goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Ah, I kind of promised my girlfriend, I give her a phone call later on, and gonna speak to her later on." And he goes, okay, okay, yeah, no, that's fine, that's fine. But can you stay on till like 11? And I was like, okay, I'll stay on till 11. Am I gonna sign the contract today? So I was kind of reaffirming with him that I've got the job. Like I have the job in hand because I'm not doing all this extra work because you're a man down or whatever. He goes, "Yeah, nice, yeah, fine, yeah, 11 o'clock, cool." Um, Anyway, one of the girls I was working with, she was really nice, and she came up to me and she's like, "Don't do it." I was like, "What?" He goes, "Don't do it. He's gonna ask you to do a close. He's gonna ask you to stay on later. but he's probably not going to hire you. I thought she was being very cynical, and I was like, oh, okay. And it came up to 10 o'clock, and like I just wasn't feeling staying on later, so I was like going, you know what, mate, I just don't feel too good. And when I saw him, and he goes, "Ah, right, okay, cool." He goes, "Ah, right, okay, but you're still able to do the second trial tomorrow." And this was the first point that I've ever been told is a second fucking trial. And I just looked at him, and for me, like I'm an experienced bartender, and at this point I didn't take any shit. I was no longer the naive 20-year-old boy. I was a grown 24, 25-year-old man at this point. I looked at him and was like, "What do you mean second trial?" He went, "Well, you need to do 2 trials to prove yourself to ourselves." And this is where I kind of had a confrontation. I said to him, "Well, I've just done your dispense bar for your main bar for a Friday night. It was pretty busy. I did that with no experience. I learned all your cocktails. I've done that." He goes, "Yeah, but I need to know how you interact in the other bars and then with the other teams and then speak to their managers." I was like, "Okay, I understand that, but you've used me for 4 hours for free labor, and now you want to use me again for 4 hours for free labor." He goes, well, he was going, "Nah, it's not like that. It's not like that. We just want to make sure that we've got the perfect candidate. That's all we're doing. We're trying to get the perfect candidate." And I was like, okay, the perfect candidate. Okay, cool. So if I just say I'll do it tomorrow, then I'll do it, and then I'll get the job after the Saturday shift. He goes, "Yeah, if you do it, then you get the job. I guarantee you'll get the job." So he's giving me these false promises. I can see in his eyes, giving me false promises. So I say, okay, cool. I'll get my stuff. I'll go home now, and then I'll come in tomorrow, and then I'll do the trial. He goes, yeah, cool. So what does Kelvyn do? He knows at this point, big red flag is surrounding this. So I get my stuff. I go say bye to the manager. I say, "Right, mate, I'll see you tomorrow." He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Aye, okay. Guarantee me that job." He goes, "Yeah." And then I never turned up again at the place because fuck that person. What the fuck are you doing? It is a fucking joke. And again, that place again called me up like a month later with the exact same scenario as Toy Bar. They were like, "Hey, do you want to get a job here? Do you want to do a trial?" I was like, "No, I don't." So the lesson here is that in London it is a fucking joke. I don't think they do that much here in Edinburgh or Scotland. But I think with London, you kind of have a pool of potential employees, and you can kind of manipulate them to work in your bars for free, essentially. Um, Eventually, the struggle in London was too much, and I had to call a mate to kind of get me a job in a bar that his friends ran, and I got a job straight away. So I should have just done that without all the trials and tribulations of 4 weeks of trials in London. But that kind of concludes my road so far in hospitality. There is many stories, as I said. Um, just reflecting back on the stories I've told you there, for me, I was a bartender for all of them, but I used those lessons learnt in those scenarios to hopefully give myself a better perspective. So, on reflection on the trials in London, when I was a manager, I would not allow a trial to go past 2 hours. I would say, "Look, you can come in for 2 hours. We'll give you some cocktails to make, and we're going to put you on a Wednesday or Thursday because it's not too busy, so I can really look at you and see who you are." Am I saying that's the perfect way to hire someone? Probably not, but at least then you can have a more of an intimate understanding of the person, and you're not wasting their time for 4 hours. You give them a guarantee saying, "Right, you start at 6, you'll be finished by 8 o'clock." I mean that. That's what took me away from trials of 4 hours, because 4 hours is too long. Um, in regards to the managers, I think that a manager should always be competent. Number one, with Liz, it should be competent on any aspects of a restaurant or bar, or any facility in any company. Your manager should be the best of what they should do for everyone. And a girl that I worked with was my GM at the time. She said that as a manager, I should be better at your job than you should be, so that I can teach you and show you the best way. And I think that should be the best point. And I'm not sitting here saying that I'm the best person on the bar, or the best person on the floor, or the best in the kitchen, but I should be capable enough to take over the reins and say, okay, are you struggling on the floor? Cool, I'll take some plates. Are you struggling on the bar? Cool, I can take on 3 checks. Are you struggling with the DJ? Okay, I'll try and put some music on. Anything, you should kind of take this on board and really be able to multitask in all aspects. In regards to the whole Kelly situation, where you know you you're beating up your senior manager, I think for me, I would say I'm emotional in a passive aggressive way in a workplace. But for me, it kind of shows you that you kind of this industry will engulf you. You will basically go mental at one time. It's a very tough industry. So the lesson learned from that, I think, from looking at her, was like going, okay, maybe this is really, don't make it your whole life. Because when you see your senior manager, who you may fucking hate, or just a colleague, you're going to end up battering them in the head and then going crazy. And that's exactly what that happened there. So for me, I kind of, you need to always have a step back, I think. Always have a step back from your workplace, whether that be in a bar or a bank or anywhere. Take a step back and really let loose in your own time. Because she had a good job. She was general manager of TGI Fridays. She could have done better with herself. And don't spend all their money, because you'll get fired. And lastly, with the strip club, what did I learn from that? Well, I'm glad you asked. I think that really was a learning curve of understanding the place in which you are in. Are you working in a strip club? Are you working in a restaurant or bar? Are you working in a scum place? There's places and bars which you need to understand where you work at. And for me, I knew I was working in a strip club, but I didn't know I was working with a gangster. I didn't know I was working in a very almost dangerous pub and dangerous club. I think you should really reflect on. I've always had a kind of identity crisis with where I work in a bar. Some bars, there's a bar Soba in Edinburgh when I worked there. It had a huge identity crisis of, is it a bar or is it a restaurant? Because you can have the two, but one supersedes the other. And this was always on the balance of 50-50. And you have senior managers telling you this is a bar, but they're changing the menu for the food menu every 6 months. So there's innovation on the food menu, but nothing on the bar. So I think for understanding as a manager or as a bartender, where do you work? Who do you work for? What what is the message you're bringing with this place that you're working for? So that's what I'm bringing from there. And also, just don't be in a porno movie, unless, I mean, if that offer was given to me now, I'd probably do it. I'll probably fucking do it. But I'm an animal now. I'm tarnished from the industry. I'm Kelly now. I'm gonna beat up some managers. Last little segment I'm gonna put in here is so Ailey wanted me to comment about Max Taylor and his infamous ordeal that he had with with a girl when he was serving her some shots. So I'm going to put the video up just now. Just going to comment about it quickly. So basically, the context of this is that Max Taylor, who might be listening here, hey Max, how you doing? Hope you're good, mate. He's serving a girl. I think it's a birthday. I wasn't working here. I have no connection to this at all. Okay, Max. I've worked with Max before. He was a bar back and then a bartender, and I was working with him. And he's a good bartender. He's a good manager now. But he's delivering some kind of shot to this girl, which is on fire. And this kind of shows you that hospitality, everything can go wrong so quickly, even if you are the nicest guy. So this is the video just here. I'll start playing it just now. There you go. It's the shot drops, and then he blows on it, and she's on fire. It's so quick. It's funny how he just starts blowing on her being on fire. And this is the CCTV footage. So, where is it? Right, let's start here. Okay, so you can see him just walking in with the shot. Here he comes. He's walking into the shot. The girl in blonde's on the left. He's like, "Who's this for?" Her. Yeah. Okay. It gives the shot. So now you're ready. So, and then this is when shit goes down. It spills, and, and she's on fire. it's so funny. Like she falls down. Everyone's shot. It's all girls here. Like there's all girls. They're shot. She's okay though. She's fine at the end. Fucking hilarious. Oh, that's really funny. It's funny because it was a pure accident, so it wasn't meant to happen. And everyone was fine. But that actual individual video, I don't know how many views it got. Was it 2 million? It was circle. I saw it on Facebook. I saw it on Twitter. It's on Lad Bible. Max Taylor became a famous boy, but that just shows you hospitality. Anything can go wrong. Okay, I'm just going to leave it here. Thanks for listening to all my stories there. I really hope you enjoyed my trials and tribulations to hospitality. It's just part 1. I will release a part 2 a different time, but I don't want to be draining on. If you did like this story or you like my channel, give it a wee like, give me a wee comment, subscribe. You can listen to my music as well. It's under KBeatBot Raps, under Rap Fame as well, KBeatBot. I need to rate this porter, this beer. I don't really like porters, and it's vegan. So we're going to give it out of 69. I mean, because it's vegan, because it's talking about autumn, we'll give it an 11 out of 69. I'm not fucking with it. I'm not fucking with it. So 11 out of 69. That is for the Coco Van Porter. I'll put a link for that in the description if you like porters. Check it out. Tell me if you like it or not. And thank you for Jamie and Joe and Max as well for the story, and Ailey for the stories to talk about. And yeah, hospitality is great, isn't it? So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Enjoy the rest of your week. And
Don't set anyone on like a plum. Don't call me elbow and slap my bum. I'm in the bath, baby. I don't give a fuck. I should see the boys, but I'd rather see my duck. I'm having a bath, sugar. I'm hanging in my tub. There's bubbles in my ass, and it's better than the club. I'm in the bath, baby.